everybody, and welcome to Organized Joy. Tonight I am at the World of Yamaha and I am about to give a talk on your career tips. So tips and tricks to help you be successful in your job. I've been asked here by one of my clients that I work with, and he is hosting a talk to various young drivers. It's called the Young Drivers. And he asked me to be one of the speakers, which is really cool. So we're going to let you watch it as well as if you're there. I'm one of 3 speakers. I'm talking with the big boss of Uber South Africa, as well as the big boss of AdReach, which is a little bit intimidating because they have very, very big successful businesses. And I'm here more about how to organize your life to be successful. So I hope you enjoy it. I've got Tanya filming me as I do it, so thank you to Tanya. And hope you have fun. I hope you take something out of it. I thought what I would start with is a quote that is, "Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire." And I know that tonight's theme really is secrets of success. And if your soul's not on fire about something that you're doing, it's very hard to make it a success. And just with that premise to start the presentation, I hope you bear that in mind throughout it. So just to give you an idea of me and my daily to-do list, as they said during my day hours or work hours, I'm the Client Service Director at Network BBDO. I think why he asked me to be here today, because a big part of success is about how you manage your time and how you can get the most out of your time every day. So along with that, I do 2 other jobs, and one of it is called Organized Joy. It's a YouTube channel that I started at the beginning of the year. I post 2 videos a week and I give you organizing tips. And the idea is really to give you tips and tricks that give you more time in the day to get on with trying to be successful. So if you haven't gone to have a look at it, you should go and subscribe, and hopefully I can help you with a few things. I also do some personal coaching. I do it in the aspects of personal development. I've helped some people get some nice salary increases and get the confidence to go and ask for those salary increases when it's hard. I've helped an estate manager become more organized in her daily job, and that kind of coaching is what I do. I try and do that before work hours. So I'm pretty busy, but that is basically my daily to-do list. So tonight's to-do list is, you can click twice. I put up 5 things on my list that I would talk to you about. You'll come to realize I'm a little obsessed with lists, and that's what makes me quite organized. The first thing I'm going to talk about is lists and more lists. And how that can help you be organized. Planning your day in your diary and some pointers around that. We'll talk a little bit about clutter, because clutter is clutter and it actually just gets in the way, and the less clutter you have, the more you can do and see. And then how mornings set your journey, and then a few tips and thoughts that I have for you. So if we start with lists and more lists, as I said to you, I'm pretty obsessed with lists. I have lists, 4 lists. My husband has asked me before, do you have a list for me? And I do, but I have never told him that. And hopefully none of you ever will if you meet him. But you can click for me. A very big thing that I make sure I have is a list for different aspects of my life, and it helps to manage the overwhelmed feeling that you sometimes feel, sitting, writing down everything you have to do in a day, and you look at it all and you're actually not really sure where to start. If you have a list for your work versus a list for your home versus a list for your family and what needs to happen, and a list for your side hustle, which in my case, Organized Joy is my side hustle, it just makes things a little bit more manageable. And if you have a list that's pages long, and some of us do, when you start writing up what you have to do in a day, your list ends up being pages and pages, the best thing to do is to just really start at the top. So the other thing I would definitely suggest is that you create this list system that works for you. And there's so many options out there these days. There's apps that you can use. There's Evernote. there's Outlook, there's journaling, or there's the good old notebook. But whichever one you decide to use, get stuck in and create your list and make sure they're working for you. Because the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but it's to schedule your priorities. What really has to happen today versus what do you feel like doing versus what doesn't really need to happen. And that's the really important crux of getting through your tasks every day and being organized, is to make sure you schedule your priorities. What's most important? So that's the end of lists, which I'm sure is pretty boring for some people, but not for me. The next thing is around planning your day in a diary. Now, my diary has almost everything in it. I have even paydays in my diary. I like to remind myself that it's a few days away or it's 3 weeks away, whichever one it happens to be. But if you create a routine for yourself and you stick it into your diary, whether that's in the morning or in the evening, we all know if you have children sitting here today, a routine is so essential to keeping their life in place in the morning and in the evening. And if you have a routine that you can run through and is part of your diary, you'll be so much more organized, and I promise you'll get through so much more in a day. So what I like to do is I take a day, a week, and I plan my next week so that you can really schedule in what is everything you need to do, and you can make sure you get to it. Whether that's a Friday afternoon, which is maybe difficult if you're going home for Shabbos, but a Sunday I do it, or a Monday morning when you're coming to work early, set it aside half an hour and plan your week for the whole week. What do you need to do and what do you need to accomplish? In my job, I have to go from a meeting in Pretoria to a meeting in Sandton, and if I don't put in even just travel time, the people that I work with think that I have a remarkable skill of beam me up Scotty, and I can get there in a second. So I have to plan in diary time that says travel. My boss said to me the other day, she's Joy, I would imagine you even write down like when you're going to eat your celery stick in your diary. And I'm not that hectic, but it's pretty close to that. And a big thing in terms of being organized, and I know we all know this, but it's about being on time, always, no matter where you're going. It's just about a respect thing at the end of the day. Whoever you're meeting, you need to be on time for them because that shows respect. And it keeps you organized and it keeps you to your plan. And another big thing that I do is I group similar chores together so that you don't end up going to the same shopping center 5 times a week to go and do things. Try and go to the shops once to get all the things you need for that week if you are into the shopping side of things. And I don't mean shopping for shoes. I mean if you've got chores to do and things that you need to do. It saves you time and it just makes sense. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do constantly or consistently. And if you get into the habit of doing the things that work, it will start to pay off. So clutter. Clutter is clutter, and it just gets in the way. And I know that there are people, and I'm sure some of you are sitting here are these people that have piles and piles and piles of stuff on your desk. And then you tell, so when someone's looking for something, you tell them you know where everything is in these piles. I know where my stuff is in these piles. But you know what? It's still clutter, and it gets in the way. And if you are here, sitting here today, which I'm sure most of you are, because you're striving for success in whatever you're doing, you can't see beyond the clutter if there's clutter all over the show. So you need to clear the clutter in order to make sure you're seeing ahead of yourself. So a filing system is really, really important, and use it and try and make it as electronic as possible. No paper anymore. And when you declutter, a really good place to start is your head. You can sort out what's going on in your head, you'll sort out a whole lot of stuff, and the decluttering is actually pretty easy. And your energy and the space around you, it's super important. Because clutter is nothing more than postponed decisions. That's all it is. So, mornings. I don't know how many people here are morning people versus not morning people. How many people sleep in, how many people say they're going to go to gym but never really do. Mornings are really important to me. And I have a very set way that I tackle my mornings, and I really believe that they set the journey for my day. And I use something called save, and it's about, if I follow this, I know that I end up saving myself some time. So I start off with a little bit of silence, and silence can be in the form of prayer, it can be in the form of meditation, it's whatever may suit you, just to put yourself back down to earth after you've been in dreamland and find some grounding. I then do a few affirmations where I make sure I am grateful for 3 things in the morning, because if you're grateful, you'll probably start the day pretty happy. And if you're happy, it's very hard to get irritated, except if there's traffic on the way to work, I suppose. But if you're grateful for 3 things in the morning, it starts the day off really wonderfully. And that can be, you can be grateful for the fact that you had a really divine dinner the night before with someone, or that you have a job, or that you have somebody did something the day before, whatever it may be. It's really important to be grateful for that. And the next thing I do is I visualize certain things that I want to achieve for that day. So whether that's a meeting that I think is going to go pretty badly, I visualize it going well. The visualization part is about what you want to achieve. You might want a big deal to go through in that day. Whatever it may be, it's important to visualize what you want the outcome to be, because visualizing it will help you get it. And then I'm really obsessed with doing exercise in the morning, because I believe that it really does set you off for a good day. Decide what you want to achieve for the day, and this does require massive action. If you can decide you want something in life, but if you don't actually go and do something about it, you pretty much can guarantee you're not going to get it. So you actually have to do something about it. So once you visualize what you want, go for it. You have to take the step and do it. You get what you work for, not what you wish for. And that says it all. I don't really need to say much more about that. So just the last few tips for you that I would leave you with, some sentiments. The first one is, know your essentials in life and your nice to haves, because they're pretty different. We need a car to make sure we can get to work, but we don't necessarily need a Louis Vuitton on our arm to get out of the car to get to work. That's not part of my presentation. I'm scared of this. And you have to try. This is something that I learned really early on in life, is that you have to try something. And if you're going to fail quickly, but try. Because if you don't try and you get it wrong, you won't learn, and therefore you can't move on and actually get it right. You have to go for it and give it a bash. And your boundaries are important to establish. And they're yours, they're not everybody else's. So I have certain boundaries that at 6:30 at night, my phone goes off until 7:30. And all my clients and my boss and everybody knows that. That's my time with my family. And I set them and I let everybody know about it. It's very important to have your own boundaries, and whatever those may be, define them for yourself. And if you're not happy, don't settle. You're the only people who can decide if you are happy or not. Nobody's going to tell you that you're not happy. If you feel like you're not, do something about it. You're the only person who can. And find your person or your people and be true to them and to yourself. And your people can be your partner or your wife or your husband in life, or it can be your best friend, or it can be a colleague. And you can have various people for various things in life. But once you find them, be true to yourself about it. Drink lots of water every day. Make time for exercise. I promise you won't regret it. I'm old enough that I'm no longer part of the description of young drivers. I was quite interested by this young driver age group. It ends at 38. What happens to the 39-year-olds? Like, where did they go? They're not 40 yet. I was quite sad. I was like, shame. And having turned, I'm well into my 40s now, but the exercise part is very essential. And I want to try and live as long as I can, to be quite honest, and I really do believe that exercise is a big part of that. And then my very last thought for you is that you should always have an opinion. I'm sure you've all been brought up to have an opinion. Your parents would have probably instilled that in you. As long as you make sure it's considered, Doesn't matter if it's different to somebody else's. Have an opinion. Make sure it's considered, and you can stand by it. Someone may change it. They may change your mind about something, but that's okay, as long as you have an opinion on something. That's me. That's where you can find me. Those are some of my channels, so hopefully you will.